Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to another, finally, GameMaker tutorial. I know it's been a while. Last couple of weeks have been finals for me. Next week is actually my finals week, but I had some final projects due this week. So here's the main reason that it's been so long since I've done a video is because I've been working on the Pokemon tutorial series, and that takes a lot of preparation. So in my spare time, I've been working on that, and it's just a giant mess right now, actually. So I decided to step away from it for a little bit and do an easier tutorial video. But this is going to be a small series, so don't expect a ton of videos from this one. It'll be more similar to the RTS tutorial series, but it'll be a small series that'll kind of get you started on a game. And this is going to be a magic type game where your character is a mage and just uses magic. Also in this game, you're going to be seeing the character from a top view, but we're going to do some cool things with that and make it more interesting than a boring top view. And let me actually show you kind of what we're going to be going for here. So this is a little bit of what we're going to be going for. So you can see we've got our mage. He's got a pretty cool cape. There's some nice shadows and a nice environment. And we're simulating kind of a 3D fill with the trees. You'll notice it makes this kind of room look 3D, the way we're doing that with the trees and even the bushes. So that's kind of what we're going for, and we'll get started on that. Also, just a quick note, I've released a early rough draft version of my book, and so it's probably maybe about half of what's going to be in the finished book ish, around there. That's not definite, but that's pretty close to what I'm guessing. But it's still got a lot of great content, and the people who have purchased it already have given me a lot of really good feedback on it. So it's been exciting, and it's been great to see the book progress. I think it's about, I've got a 12 sized font, and it's about 96 pages, I think. The chapter headings and stuff are larger, and then I've got some tables and stuff for code, but it's a pretty good sized little book, and it'll teach you a lot. So I'm gonna put a link in the description to my website where you can buy it. If you don't want to buy it, you can go share the website on Twitter. That would be awesome as well. So let's get started though, because I'm jabbering away and we're gonna be clear into this video. So also in the description, there's going to be a link to a GameMaker file that you can import. And it's going to have these assets in it, which is going to be our character and the trees and plants. The reason I'm doing this is because it'd just be a pain for you guys to try and draw all this stuff and get it set up right. So I'm giving you guys these assets. You can use them in any game or anything you want to. Just please give me credit. So if you decide to use it, give me credit. That's fine with me. I worked hard on them, so you don't have to pay me or anything. You can just, give me credit for it. But you can't sell them individually. So you can't sell the assets individually. They have to be part of a larger project. That's what I ask. So you're going to download this package, and you're going to go into GameMaker and go File, Import. And that's how you're going to import it, because I'm going to export it so that it's just one file and not a giant package, and then you can import the project. So once you've imported it, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a player object. So come up here, create an object. We call this object. Well, this probably won't be a player object actually. This is going to be, yeah, I guess we'll call it object player. And we're going to give it a create event. Well, actually, before we do that, we'll give it a sprite of the player's body. Not their head, their body. It's kind of creepy. And we're going to give it a depth of -7. Okay? And we're going to give it a mask. I almost forgot this. of sprite player mask. The collisions and movement in this game are going to be overly simplified, so don't expect anything too fancy from them. Now we're going to create another object. We're going to call this object head, and we're going to grab the player's head. Perfect. And we're going to give it a depth as well, and it's going to have a depth of -10. And create a new object. We'll call this object cape top. We'll give it the cape top sprite, and we're going to give it a depth as well, and it's going to have a depth of -8. Create another one, object cape middle, player cape middle, and this one's going to have a depth of -7. I'm sorry, I might have been telling you guys wrong the whole time. So we're going to have it's actually going to be -6, but we're going to have, these are all negative numbers. Everything I've told you has been a negative number, even though I didn't say it negative beforehand. So object cape bottom, and this one's going to have a depth of lower than the middle, or higher than the middle, I guess. It's going to have a depth of -5, I think. Yeah, -5. So basically the depth is going to put the head at the very top. The next it's going to do the top cape, the middle cape, and the bottom cape, I think. -5. No, next it's going to do the top cape at -8. Then it's going to do the body. Then it's going to do the middle cape. And then it's going to do the bottom cape. So we're setting these pieces up, and the reason we're doing that is because they're all going to kind of, we're going to connect them together and give a little bit of a delay to the way they connect, which will create a kind of a cool little flowing effect. I'll show you how to do that. So let's come into the player, and we're going to add a create event now that we've got all those. And this is going to be a little bit of a chunk of code. So let's come into it, and we're going to call this initialize the player sprite variables image speed equals 0, create the character parts. So we're going to do var head equals instance create x y object head. Okay, and then we're going to do head dot creator equals id. So what does this line do? Well, what does this code do? So first we're setting the image speed to 0 because the player has different frames in here that we're going to use for when he's actually casting spells. So we don't want it to actually animate until we cast a spell. The head that we're creating is the player's head object. We're creating it at our X and Y position, but we're also, when we create it, we're assigning its ID to this variable so that we can access it and kind of change the specific instance that we're creating. So we've got an object, which is kind of the cookie cutter pattern, and then we're creating a specific cookie, and we want to make this cookie have red ice cream. Not ice cream, icing. Whatever. We want to make this cookie have red icing instead of, maybe the default cookie doesn't have any icing. We're kind of adding a little bit to it. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to set its creator to us, so that the head knows which object created it. So we're going to do that a few more times too with the other with the cape. So var cape top equals instance create x, y, object cape top, cape top dot creator equals ID. Same thing, right? But we actually want to, with the other pieces of the cape, we want their creator to actually be the cape top. So the cape top is going to create the two other pieces of the cape. And the way we're going to do that is we can actually jump inside the top cape using a with. So we'll do with cape top and close the brackets. So now any code that we write inside of these brackets is actually going to run inside the cape top. It's as if we're in the create event for the cape top and not for this object, basically. We're going to create the other capes. So we're going to do var cape middle equals instance create xy object cape middle cape middle dot creator equals ID. Now the reason we can just use ID instead of cape top ID is because we're inside the cape top object. It's like we're inside that object. So if we do ID here inside of this with, it's going to be the ID of the cape top. If we do ID out here, it's going to be the ID of the player object. So that's what with statements are very, very powerful. We're going to do cape middle dot lag equals true. And I'll show you, lag is like a bad thing in games generally, but in this case, it's going to be cool. I'll show you. So cape bottom equals instance create xy object cape bottom, and we're going to do cape bottom dot creator equals ID, cape bottom dot lag equals true. So now we've created the head, the top of the cape, the middle, and the bottom of the cape. And that's all that we're going to do in the create event for the player. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go in the player's step event, and we're going to add some movement into so our player can move. And I'm not going to do anything super fancy, so this isn't going to be like optimized, or, you know, it's not really going to be that great of a movement system, except that for this game it'll work fine the way we're doing it, because of the way that I'm going to handle collisions later and the restrictions that I'm kind of going to place. This movement system will work just fine. So we're going to do control the player set, well, let's just type this out, image angle equals point direction x, y, mouse x, mouse y. So what does that do? We're getting the direction pointing from us to the mouse, and then we're going to point our character that direction, the angle of the image. So the player's going to face the mouse, is all this does. It makes the player face the mouse. The mouse is X and Y. Control, let's see, get that input. And I'm going to do kind of a cheating way. Right equals keyboard check VK right, or or keyboard check ord D. Boom. So we're saying the player can either press the right key or the D key on the keyboard in order to move the character to the right. It'll just return true if either of these are true and set right equal to true. And then we can check to see if right is true later for movement. Okay, left, and this is going to be A. And I should probably just copy this down twice. Okay. Up. Up. And this is going to be W. Down. Down. And S. Oops. And this can't be capitalized like that. It won't work. Sweet, we got the input. Move the player. If you'll notice, this video is in 1080, I think. So I'm recording at a higher resolution than I used to, which will be kind of nice. Hopefully the audio turns out. I think it should. I did a little test beforehand. So if right motion add 0, which is to the right, and 1, we'll add a speed of 1. That's our acceleration, is right there. So this is the direction, this is the acceleration. We're going to add a motion in that direction. So we're going to copy this down. And we're going to do left now. And left is 180 is the direction. We're going to do up and down. And up is a direction of 90. Down is a direction of 270. Now we need to make sure that the player doesn't move too fast. So don't move too fast. They'll get out of control. If speed is greater than 4, well, let's do greater than or equal to 4. Yeah, that way they can't ever move faster than 4. Speed equals 4. If not right and not left and not down, well, up and not down. So basically, if we're not pressing any key, else, leave those two open, we want to set some friction. So set the friction. Friction equals 1. I'm going to give it the same friction as the movement acceleration. If they are pressing a button, we want to set the friction to 0, or else it will actually affect the movement of our character. So that's pretty cool. And if we go into our game, you will see, I wonder if it'll, well, we don't even have a room, so let's not worry about that for just a second. We're going to create an object that's going to be the shadow parent. Object shadow parent. And basically all this object does is draw a shadow. Well, it draws the current sprite and then it draws a shadow. So I've got my other computer here. I'm getting it set up there. Okay. Draw. We're going to drag over a code. And we're going to just call this draw a shadow. Draw sprite ext sprite index image index x plus 4 y plus 4 1 1 image angle C black 0.3 draw self, and we're done. So this is the sprite index, the image index, the x where we're going to draw this shadow, the y, and the x scale, which we're just going to leave as 1, the y scale, which we're going to leave as 1. We don't want to change that. The image angle, we want the current image angle of the sprite, so it's facing the same direction. Color, we'll do C black because shadows are black, but then we're going to give it a transparency so it doesn't just put a black thing on the ground. It's going to have a little bit of a transparency so we will see through the shadow. Shadows are like that. Then we're going to draw the actual sprite. So that's a pretty easy object to create. And you're going to want to make the player, it'll have a parent of the shadow parent. Just the player though. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create object character part parent. Okay? Object character part parent. This object is going to control the movement of the different, like the different parts of the cape mostly. That's what it's going to control. So, because currently, if we were to run the game, the head and the cape and all that stuff wouldn't follow the player. If we move the player, the other stuff would just stay where it was before. It'd look really weird because it would just, you know, kind of float there and not do anything. So, we're going to initialize character part parent. Creator equals no one. So this is the thing, generally we're going to set creator equal to no one, but because of our create event here, we're actually changing that value to the ID of whoever its actual creator is. So that's part of why we did that. And then we're going to do lag equals false. So generally lag will equal false, but in the cases where we set it to true, it's going to equal true. Now, as you may already know, if you make an object follow another object in a step event, it lags behind a little bit. And we're going to actually use that to our advantage in this game. The reason it does that is because it moves the object before to that spot, but it hasn't actually moved the new object yet. So if you want it to follow exactly, you put it in the end step event. But we're going to have a step event for when lag is set equal to true. Let me bring up my code here. Check for, let's see. Let's just call this move to parent or creator with lag. If lag, so if lag is equal to true, then we're going to move this way. X equals creator dot x previous. Y equals creator dot y previous. So I guess, I don't remember doing this, but I guess I'm actually moving towards the previous x position, which might create more lag than, I don't know. It'll make it lag. Image angle equals creator dot image angle. Sweet, we're going to copy this code. And we're going to do another one that's called the end step event. And we're going to do if not lag, and then we're going to take out x previous and y previous and just make it x and y. And that's all for that object. Pretty simple. Now what we need to do is go make all of the different character parts children to this character part parent. So go to the head, go to parent all the way down, cape parent all the way down, cape middle parent all the way down, cape bottom parent all the way down. Sweet, we're getting super close. So I'm going to save this, and we're going to go into, we're going to create a room. And for now, holy cow, that's huge. For now, we're going to make this room 640 by 360. And we're going to call it room forest, I guess. We're going to enable the use of views. Visible when room starts. The view in the room is going to be 640 by 360, of course, but the port on the screen is going to be 1280 by 720. we're going to follow the player object. Well, we don't really, I mean the views, it's not even going to move, so that's not really that important right now, but I guess we can do it for when the room's bigger later. We'll make the room bigger later. The horizontal border is going to be 320, and the vertical border is going to be 180. And if you go to backgrounds, we're going to draw a background, visible when room starts, and then just select background grass, which is just a kind of generic grass background that I created a while ago. And of course we want it to tile horizontally and vertically. Oh, and we want to put our player object in the room. You don't have to create the other objects because he'll create them himself. Let's run it and let's press play. And I think we're actually done with this first video if there's no glitches. So you can see when the player moves around in the room. Oh, I forgot one thing. Okay, so we're close, but I forgot one thing. So the cape looks really nice the way it kind of flows because we've got that lag with it. It moves behind the player just a little bit. You can see the player points toward the mouse, which looks cool. And it kind of gives the game a little bit of a 3D feel with the cape lag, but not like the trees. The trees look way better. What you're going to do that I forgot to do is you're going to go to the character part parent, and it's going to have a parent of the shadow parent. So each of the different parts is going to cast its own shadow, which ends up looking kind of cool in my opinion. Because then when you're facing this way, I mean, it just looks nice to me, I think. So you'll just have to see if you think it looks nice too. But this is where we're going. This is what we're going to do. We're going to build a sweet mage game with lots of monsters and trees, and it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited for it because this is a simple tutorial. I mean, there's not going to be complicated parenting systems. There's not going to be complicated state systems. I'm going to keep stuff simple. In fact, this game, it might be a high score game. I will add a leveling system in it though. It'll be kind of like a top view version of my old game Deep Magic. That's kind of what I'm going for. Something simple like that. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you learned something and enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and favorite it, share it on Facebook and Twitter. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, then what are you waiting for? If you enjoy my videos, then I would really appreciate a subscription. That always helps me out. Feel free to comment. I'm going to try and answer comments again. It has been like 2 weeks since I hadn't answered them, so I'm going to start answering comments again. So forgive me for the time that I wasn't answering every single comment. You guys probably thought I was dead. I've actually, now I'm blabbering again, but I've actually thought about that. Like, what would happen if I just died? Like, you guys would never know. There'd just be no more videos and I would be dead. So that's I probably shouldn't be laughing at that. It's kind of morbid, but I guess it doesn't really bother me that much because I really don't think it's going to happen. So once again, thank you guys. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys later.